We are in the National Toy Museum of Canada. It's in our upper mezzanine of Cherry Bomb Toys at 1410 Broad Street. And we are here to talk to you about toys. What we're doing here today is we're going to talk about G.I. Joe, some of the history of toys and just in general, what makes them just so awesome. People forget about the fact that toys, it's not just a plaything, but there's a lot that goes into designing a toy and the history and the stories. And you know, we don't really get to know about it because we just see the end product where it's sitting on the shelf and where, you know, little ones go, "Mommy, please." When G.I. Joe first arrived was in the 1960s. In the late 50s, Barbie made its mark. It changed the world forever. And so everybody was going, what is going to change? What is going to be the next step? Girls have got their thing. What's going to happen for boys? Nobody knows. Hasbro, the Hassenfeld brothers, which makes Hasbro, they had a team and they were deciding, you know, let's do something. Let's make a series that's going to be for boys. But the Hassenfeld directive was no dolls. There was going to be no dolls at this time. If you showed them a doll, they were going to toss it in the garbage. Let's design a toy that's a backyard toy, live action, something for the guys to get involved, but it's almost a competitor directly with Barbie. How do we get this involved? But it's got to have posability. It's got to have movement. It's got to be able to just go anywhere, be anything, do anything, just like any boy is going to be in the backyard. They designed a character, basically Rocky was kind of the first idea that they were thinking of, but eventually it evolved into G.I. Joe. G.I. Joe being government issued Joe was basically the standard for all soldiers. And they're thinking, let's make a toy that's based for boys, that's for also, in a sense, for dads, to get them all to encompass what, you know, boys love. Boys love guns. Boys love toys. At that time frame was what they were focusing on. So they're going, hey, let's get everybody involved. And hey, why not showing dads, you know, at the time, the Korean War, World War II, that was a thing that was pretty fresh in everybody's mind. Let's make a toy that's kind of centered around that. But it wasn't easy. They had to kind of, people were going, well, what are you doing? What do you need a 60 cal for? Or what do you need a machine gun? Or what do you need a mortar for? Or what do you know? And how did they get this? Wasn't something that you could just go to the corner store and figure it out. And so they get on the phone with the generals and they tell them, and they're like telling the generals, hey, we're gonna make a backyard toy that's gonna be for kids so they can run around and play guns, you know, normal kid stuff. It's great, let's do this, yeah, it's fun. They had to make a name for the toy as well. The name, he's movable, he's posable, he's an action. What is he? What is he doing? He's not a doll, because you show a doll, he's in the garbage. He's an action man, he's a figure. He's an action figure. And this is where the term action figure came from, was from G.I. Joe in the 60s. How successful was G.I. Joe? It changed the world unexpectedly. They had no idea how this was going to change everything. The sales were rocketing through the roof. They were just swamped with demands for toys that they just couldn't keep up with. We actually have behind us, there's a whole display here of them. That's why it's at the beginning of the museum, because when you come in, if it wasn't for G.I. Joe, we wouldn't have action figures in the extent that they've gone to today. I mean, you look at any major movie, there's going to be a high-end collectible based off of a superposable figure of that character. And if it wasn't for G.I. Joe breaking that world and saying, hey, this is how you can make a posable figure, we wouldn't have a basis of how to do that properly.